What is up, Houston Texans fans? Mellow Mike here for the Bull Bash. And today we're going to be breaking out Coach Mello. I'm going to tell you how the Texans can win this game and give some key points here. And if Nick Cayley is smart, he'll turn on this podcast. He'll start taking some damn notes because I'm going to put on clinic for him. But the most important thing about this game for us as Texans fans is we cannot allow this team to get swept by the Jacksonville Jaguars. That is not going to be acceptable. And if the Texans lose this game, I'm going to say it right here, just very, very honestly. The season is done. And what would be worse is the gloating of the Jaguars fans down there and having to hear that stupid Duval chant all season long. Cannot have that. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get into the injury report here for the Houston Texans. Defensively, no Jalen Petrie. That's big because of the fact that the Texans have just elevated, you guessed it, Miles Bryant. They signed him to the practice squad. They brought him in. So it could be Miles Bryant here in the slot, or you could see Tremont Smith kind of mixing and matching there. So that's going to be a discernible weakness because D'Amico Ryans has been using Jalen Petrie very, very effectively. Now, the bigger injury, of course, is CJ Stroud. Not going to play with a concussion. Hopefully, CJ will return next week against the Titans. Being that it happened at the first half of that game, I would expect him to have time to clear the concussion protocol somewhere around that Wednesday area and see him get back out there on the field practicing next week. So that'll be something to watch for us as Texans fans. The big concern here, the right side, both Titus Howard and Ed Ingram will be out in this game. And that is huge. Ed Ingram has been the best interior offensive lineman for the Houston Texans. And I'm going to come out here and say this for you guys. Ed Ingram has merited another contract with the Houston Texans. Short term, he has been effective. The change of scenery has done good. He has not at all been like any point we have seen Ed Ingram in his career to this point. This has been the best version of Ed Ingram that anybody has seen. And I believe in rewarding players who have earned a contract. Ed Ingram has definitely done that. Now, the problem being with Ed and Titus out, first of all, key mismatch number one. You're going to have Ariante Ursery at left tackle. You're going to have Blake Fisher at right tackle against Trayvon Walker and Josh Hines-Allen, who is looking to break the Jaguars sack record this week, by the way. One more sack and he will be, I believe, the all-time sack leader for the Jacksonville Jaguars. That's pretty impressive in itself. So that is the key mismatch for that Jaguars defense there. But the Jaguars also got some injuries to worry about as well. There's going to be their nickel corner, Jordan Lewis, who's been very effective since they brought him over from the Cowboys in their nickel coverages. They're getting back Devin Lloyd, who was instrumental. And those linebackers, in particular, had a very effective day against that Houston Texans offense earlier on in the season. The combination Aluquan, Devin Lloyd, Ventrell Miller, they did a great job out there against the Texans early off. And then the Jaguars wide receiver core, they just traded for Jacoby Myers. But they're going to be down Brian Thomas Jr., they're going to be down Travis Hunter. So that is some key things to watch out for there because the Texans defense clearly has an advantage, and the Texans offense clearly has an advantage. So what is the X factor in this game for both teams? And X factor for the Houston Texans against this Jaguars defense, it's going to be Nico Collins. None other. The Texans have got to find a way to get Nico Collins involved in this game. Nico Collins can dominate. But the thing is, that ball's going to have to be coming out quickly. And it's going to be reliant on Nico being able to get yards after the catch. For the Jaguars, that X factor for them is going to be that running game. Quite honestly, Travis Etienne has been very, very effective this year, and we'll get into him later. Trevor Lawrence can be an effective scrambler as well. So the combination of two of them presents that kind of dual threat in the backfield. And it has been a weakness of the Texans defense, particularly in the middle of the field. They've allowed chunks of runs up the middle of that defense. So those are the X factors for the game. The Jaguars running game with Etienne and Trevor Lawrence and Nico Collins. Now, what could help the Houston Texans to win this game even more, and it has not happened very often, and it doesn't happen in NFL games very often, is the defense stepping up and putting points on the board, getting some pick sixes, returning fumbles. Would be a huge boost to an offense that is struggling. Another thing is Jalen Noel in the return game has been a key to setting the Houston Texans up with ideal field position. The Texans need to have Jalen Noel out there and returning kicks, returning punts. Allow the young man to go out there, showcase that explosiveness, and he is by far our best returner. Set up this offense that is struggling, that is banged up with a short field. Because here comes a mismatch number one. We've already talked about that offensive line. Well, the Jaguars' defensive line is also pretty good against the run. Now, you're lacking that right side. So your run game is not going to be as effective at all. The Texans have got to find a way to get some rush yards. And here's what I would do with that offensive line. Laken Tomlinson has been absolute trash this year. What I would do is I would reshuffle the offensive line, a word that we hate here in Houston. But I'm putting in Jarrett Patterson at left guard because he's played left guard before. And I think that in a pinch, he's probably going to be better than Laken Tomlinson out there. He doesn't have the size that Laken does, but Patterson can attack you quickly. And he is a very adept pass protector. So that's one thing to figure in. And I only say put him in at left guard because he hasn't played right guard. And Juice Scruggs would move over there. Juice Scruggs has the size advantage over Patterson, but also he has experience playing at right guard as well. So that would be my focal point. And then the Texans are going to have to do something to negate this edge rush of the Jags. And the only way they're going to do that is by going with 12 to 13 personnel, getting the tight ends out there. Hopefully Jakob Johnson can come out there. And if it were me, if I'm going with a two tight end set that doesn't involve the fullback being on the field, or even if it does, I'm going to supplant Harrison Bryant with Jakob Johnson and go with him and Dalton Schultz, allowing you to get more protection off the edge. It's better blocking that way. And if you have to, you could go with heavy personnel and take out the other wide receiver, add British Brooks in the backfield to try to get you some more push on that run. British Brooks, while he's not as effective as Jakob Johnson, as an I formation, straight on, head up lead blocker. He is very good when you use him in those offset eyes and blocking coming at that angle. He does very well at creating push and flat out just laying out whoever's in the running lanes and opening it up for the running backs. But Nick Caley is going to have to be creative in ways getting this running game going. Now, another area that the Texans can exploit the Jaguars is in their coverages. However, the one thing to watch out for is Devin Lloyd. Devin Lloyd is one of the best linebackers in the league at pass coverage. But overall, there's been one thing that has exploited the Jacksonville Jaguars linebacking core more than anything, and that has been the tight end. If you go and you look at what Brock Bowers did to him, he completely exploited them. Now, here's the thing. We don't have Brock Bowers. Brock Bowers is a freaking unicorn. Dalton Schultz is not Brock Bowers, but Dalton Schultz is an effective receiver down the field. But you can also create your mismatches. Dual slot receivers. We've seen them have success with this. The ability to win quickly and negate that pass rush using quick passes and quick releases to get the receivers open underneath. And that's where the Texans are going to have to live. So some route concepts that you can run, because the Jaguars like to run a cover 4 defense, dropping 4 deep, relying on the linebackers underneath, and they mix that with man coverage. Well, the Jaguars are down Jordan Lewis, so the nickel back, when they have to go nickel, is not going to be as effective. The Jaguars, Eric Murray, the safety for the Jags, former Texan, has been instrumental in communicating in the back end, improving that communication, and kind of helping this secondary of the Jaguars along. But he was banged up coming into this week. And the Texans know Eric Murray very intimately. So if you want to exploit the Jacksonville Jaguars linebackers and pass coverage, this is how you do that. We have something that's called a mesh concept, which is just crossing pattern, shallow underneath from opposite directions. All right. You can sit there and do it with 2 tight ends. Harrison Bryant, Dalton Schultz, they come and they do the mesh. You can do it with a tight end, Dalton Schultz, and a slot receiver, preferably Jalen Knoll, or your Christian Kirk or Braxton Berrios, and bring them across. One thing that the Texans can't do that is very effective at attacking the cover 4 when they go and show you that coverage is the seams. It's very vulnerable at the seams in the deep middle portion of the field where you can attack the linebackers vertically. However, with that pass rush, the Texans will not have time to be able to allow that to develop. So that is going to be out of there. Another thing is the Texas concept. It is a high-low concept where you attack vertically the high area with the wide receivers, and you attack the low area underneath with your tight end, with your running back. Woody Marks, Dalton Schultz. Get them paying attention to Nico Collins, Jalen Knoll. Get those guys going vertically, stretch that defense, and then work the guys underneath. Very effective formation. Now, with that said, the Texans do have the tools to exploit that. And one weakness that these Jaguars linebackers do have in coverage is quicker, shiftier guys. So your advantage is Woody Marks. You have to have Woody Marks in the game. You have to get him involved in that passing attack. That is going to be the key. Now, the Jaguars pass rush, as good as it is on the edges, has a notable weakness that I just don't think the Texans are in position to take advantage of because of the injuries on the offensive line. It's that they have given quarterbacks time to step up into that pocket because there's no push from the interior of the pocket, from the interior linemen of the Jaguars. So that has been something that quarterbacks have been able to take advantage of. The Texans don't have that advantage. So they're going to have to rely on the quick pass. They're going to have to try to establish a running game, control that clock, and find a way to negate that pass rush. A lot of times you can do certain things, whether it's a draw, whether it's a reverse, whether it's a screen, a counter, something to play off of the over aggressiveness of the upfield surge and get your running backs going underneath, allowing that coverage to rush upfield, get past it, and then you do the delayed handoff. Another thing the Texans could do to be able to help out is delayed releases. The tight ends, your running backs, they're in, they look and show they're going to chip a guy, and then they release and they leak out. The Jaguars defense has had difficulty with this all year long in identifying this. So this is something that the Texans could incorporate. Another thing, you do what is called a natural rub, or more commonly known as a pick. Picks are illegal. But if you do horizontal crossers and the routes intersect and create a natural rub in there, where you're going to throw off one of the defenders in coverage, you create separation that way. You could do it vertically on vertical crossers that have natural rubs in there. Sean McVay does this a lot. Creating that point where routes intersect and allowing your receiver to rub the defensive back or the linebacker just enough that it's going to throw them off into coverage is a way to create natural separation for your wide receivers. It is legal. It is something that you do. It's something that many people do. And another thing that the Texans are not good at is creating mismatches using motion. That is pivotal to any offense in the National Football League, man. You have got to be able to get your best player against their worst player. And you have a unique advantage in Nico Collins. And you can motion him into the slot where Jordan Lewis is not there and create a distinctive mismatch that you can exploit and help Davis Mills out. The Texans have got to be able to do that. Now for the Jaguars, they're going to be looking to run that ball because that's what they had some success with. It wasn't great success, but it was successful against the Texans early off. Travis Etienne is one of the better backs in the National Football League when it comes to yards after contact. He thrives on not just getting yards after contact, but creating missed tackles. In the game against the Raiders, he created 9 missed tackles in a single game. That is big. The Texans are going to have to play their swarm mentality, but more importantly, they're going to have to be disciplined. And in that game against the Jaguars early off, the biggest thing was they were missing tackles. You cannot allow that to happen against Travis Etienne. You've got to get a body on him and bring him down with first contact. You can't allow him to get to the second level off of a missed tackle, and then all of a sudden, a run that would have been 2 yards is now 4 yards. A run that's 4 yards is now 6 yards. A run that would have been 6 yards turns into 20 yards. You have got to bring him down, and you have to be disciplined in the middle of that defensive line for the Houston Texans. The edges are great. You're not going to stretch that Texans defense out. The linebackers are too fast sideline to sideline. Whether it's Aziz, whether it's Henry T, while he's not the greatest in pass coverage, He is very effective working sideline to sideline, chasing down those stretch plays, keying on that running back. That's very, very efficient. EJ Speed is phenomenal at it. He has great speed and range sideline to sideline. So they're going to attack the Texans, and they're going to do it with the interior of that offensive line. Now, the Jaguars do have an injury to their guard, Ezra Cleveland. So that's going to be something to watch out there as well. They're missing another tight end, Hunter Long. So that's something else there. I don't know how involved Hunter Long is. Didn't see too much of him in that last game. I think maybe a reception, but not overall a big factor. But what the Jaguars are going to try to do is hit you up the middle. And that Texans defense, I've seen teams do it to them. If they're running wham, where they bring that pulling lineman, if they're going with an inside zone where those linemen are climbing to the second level, it's been effective. If they run duo against the Texans, it has been effective. The Texans are very good at defending the run, but they do have momentary lapses in that run defense in which it always comes from up the middle. And it usually has to do with them rotating their players and giving opposing offense a mismatch because of the personnel they have in the middle of that defensive line. Sideline to sideline, the outside, you're good, but you have given up chunk yards up the middle of that defense. And that's where Jacksonville is going to want to try to hammer. They're going to want to get that running game going up the middle. They're going to want to wear on that defense and just basically wear them down into the late quarters and try to get explosives off at that running game. Because the only threat that the Jaguars are going to have is going to be Trevor Lawrence if he's able to break containment, which DeMeco Ryans and his defenses have been very, very good at. But the thing is, the only weapon that Trevor Lawrence has is Jacoby Myers and Travis Etienne. Those are the only weapons that he has. And that is a unique advantage for this Texans defense with that secondary. Derek Stingley, Kamari Lassiter, Kalen Bullock. Very, very good with limited receivers here. The Texans have to be able to capitalize on this. Somehow, some way, try to find a way to manage some points. And that is a big thing here. We don't have Kyrie Fairbairn. We have Wright, who was a former Jaguar. So hopefully this game motivates him, pisses him off. It's a revenge game. Something that, you guys cut me. I'm going to stick the finger to you. Here's a chip shot field goal to ice the game. Hey, guess what? How do you like me now? In the words of Toby Keith. The Texans have got to find a way. And this game right here for you, as a Texans fan, is going to tell you everything that you need to know about Nick Caley as an offensive coordinator. How many tricks does he have in that bag? How effective can he be without CJ Stroud? Because this is going to tell you how good he is at formulating a game plan and attacking weaknesses. He mentioned that word multiple times this offseason, a game plan offense. Well, let's see how good that game plan is when you get out there on the field today against those Jacksonville Jaguars. This is where you're going to find out everything you need to know. And you can decide. A lot of Texas fans have already made that decision, whether you want to keep Nick Caley or not. This is a game that's going to tell you whether you should or not keep Nick Caley. And for the record, I'm on the side of, no, don't keep him. Because I don't think he's that great of an offensive coordinator. I don't think he's a mastermind. I don't think he's even a good offensive coordinator. I get it. The guy's got handicaps. This game, more so than any other game this year, he has handicaps with the injuries. But this is going to show you that mentality and the creativity and what he could do with a game plan. And if he can't do this with a backup offense, he's showing us that he has not been able to do that to this point, except for certain glimpses during the season. So those are my key matchups for you guys. I hope you guys like the video. Leave some comments down there. At the end of this video, I'm going to give you guys a little something fun. I'm going to put it in comments. I'm going to post it, pin it to the top. I want you to give me your best take on who Trevor Lawrence is. We've heard the Disney princess. I've referred to him as the missing Hanson brother. Give me your best take, your best insult on Trevor Lawrence. Pin it up there for you guys in the chat. Let's have some fun with this game. Go Texas.